What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, we are going to jump back over to DC Comics, and we are going to continue our coverage over the New 52, and we are going to pick up with Supergirl Volume One. Now, the reason why we're covering this is for two reasons. Over in our Superboy coverage, we have gotten pretty far with that character, but the next storyline for that character is actually a crossover event with Superman and Supergirl. And so we gotta do a tad bit of catching up. But at the same time, when it comes to Supergirl in the New 52, it was kind of hard for fans to choose a side. What I mean is, for some fans out there, they really love this Supergirl. But for other fans, some fans did not like this Supergirl. And you see what I mean as we go through the different stories for Supergirl in the New 52. But either way, if you do enjoy today's comic book video, hit that like button down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. Now, to begin today's video, we actually pick up with Supergirl number 1. With a meteor about to crash into the Earth. Now, with this meteor about to crash into the Earth, it was supposed to crash into Kansas. But here comes the big thing. This meteor continues to cut through the mantle of the Earth to actually end up on the other side of the Earth. Matter of fact, it lands in Russia, which is kind of huge. But once the meteor has finally stopped, that means whatever is inside of it can finally come out. Of course, it was Supergirl. It was her who crash landed on Earth. Now, we do begin to learn what is going on with Supergirl, because she tells us that she thinks this is a dream. And the reason why she thinks that, because the outfit she is wearing, well, apparently she's only supposed to wear that outfit after she graduates. But here comes another thing she says, that on Krypton, there hasn't been a blizzard in a very long time. Apparently when she first learned how to walk when she was a baby. And so with her being on Earth and there is a blizzard, she thinks that apparently she must be in some kind of dream. But then she's confronted by a bunch of robots. Now these robots were actually sent here to capture her. But here comes another big thing. These robots are speaking English, and Supergirl, well, of course, she only knows Kryptonian. So she has no idea what these robots are saying to her, but at the same time, she still thinks this is a dream until they begin the process of actually attacking her. Now, this is the moment where Supergirl actually learns that she has powers. And you have to remember, when it comes to Kryptonians, back on Krypton, they didn't have any powers. They were just your regular person. But once they come to Earth and the Earth has a yellow sun, well, they gain different abilities. And so for Supergirl, as soon as the sun rises up, that is when her powers activate. And that is the moment she comes to find out, oh my God, I have different powers. Now remember, she has no idea about these powers, which means she has no idea how to control these powers. But she is going to use these powers as a way to defend herself against these robots. Now, this is also the moment where we learn that inside these robots are actually human beings controlling the robots, which means they're wearing these robot suits as armors as a way to fight against different people. But either way, you do have these men in the robot armor suits trying to capture Supergirl, but she is using all the power she has in the world to defend herself. But also, here comes another problem. Remember, she does not speak any English at all. She has no idea that she's on Earth. The only thing she knows how to speak is Kryptonian. And so right now there is a language barrier between these two sides.
But of course, she has no choice but to use her new powers to defend herself. But once she is able to actually defeat every single one of these guys, she used her powers to grab one man and hoping that this one man can actually tell her what in the world is going on. But of course, there is that language barrier. And so of course, he really can't tell her anything. But that is the moment where she is actually confronted by someone she has not seen in a long time. And of course, that person would be Superman. And for her, she's kind of confused because now she sees someone else wearing the same symbol she wears, which means the House of El, her family, and all her cousins, as she's now seeing another man wearing that symbol and wondering why in the world is this man who has the same abilities as I have, who can also speak Kryptonian, but also wearing the House of El. But when we jump over to Supergirl number 2, we actually learn a tad bit more about her because she says that one of the last things she remembers was taking care of her cousin Kal-El. Of course, Kal-El was Superman's Kryptonian name. And so the last time she saw him, well, he was a baby, but here he is now as an adult. Now she has no idea that this is her cousin Kal-El. To her, it's just a random man wearing the House of El on his chest and speaking not strong Kryptonian, but just good enough so that they are able to communicate. But while they're talking to each other, you do have Superman ask her, okay, what is your name? She says Kara, and that is when he realized, wait, if you're saying Kara, that means you're my cousin. We're related. And that is the moment where he actually tells her, hey, my name is Kal-El. Well, my Kryptonian name was Kal-El. I'm your cousin. And for Kara, she can't believe that because the last thing she remembered was him being a baby. And here he is now in front of her, and he's a grown man. And so she thinks he's lying to her, and she begins the process of actually fighting against him. Now, of course, it does lead into a big battle between Superman and Supergirl. Now, when I say a big battle, it's really Supergirl just acting out of rage because she just woke up and out of nowhere, she's on a different planet. She was attacked by different robots, and now some random man came to her saying, hey, I'm your cousin. Yes, the last time you saw me, I was a baby, but here I am now as an adult. And for her, she can't believe all these things. On top of that, she has these powers that she can't control. But for Superman, he's not trying to fight her. He's trying to stop her so that they're able to communicate so she can believe him in what he is saying, but also tell her the rest of the bad news because she has no idea that Krypton has been destroyed. And so with this battle going on, it's really just Superman trying to defend himself against Supergirl, hoping that sooner or later she'll just finally stop and let him explain what in the world is going on. But here comes the big problem. With their battle going on for a good period of time, she does crash Superman through the Great Wall of China. And with that, she begins to feel bad because there were people who were watching their fight and they were kind of like, hey, you're destroying something so great to our country, but at the same time, some people actually live nearby the Great Wall of China and you're now destroying their home. And so with that, it made her finally stop and finally agree to let Superman talk to her and let him explain about everything going on with Krypton, him, and also Earth. Now you do have Superman actually take Supergirl up in the sky so that they're able to communicate. But he tells her, hey, listen, we get our powers from the yellow sun. But here comes the big thing. He finally tells her, hey, the reason why we can't go back home is because Krypton is gone. It was destroyed. And for Supergirl, she can't believe that. Now,
the last page of this chapter, we actually see someone getting some kind of red crystal by his assistant. And apparently this crystal was on the same pod with Supergirl. And so it could be very important. But also we are getting the bad guy of this video. Now, when we jump into Supergirl number 3, we actually see Superman explaining what happened to Krypton, how they're right now the last 2 survivors of Krypton. Now, for Supergirl, she really can't believe what he is saying, only because he doesn't have hard proof that Krypton is destroyed. The only thing he has is what the message his father has left him that tells him, hey, Krypton is gone and you are the last survivor of our planet. And so for Supergirl, she's having a hard time believing this man. On top of that, she wants to go back there to actually see for herself that Krypton is gone. Now, of course, we both know that when it comes to these characters, yes, they are really powerful, but they do not have the ability to actually fly there over to the planet to see if it's there or is it gone for real. But after a few moments of these 2 characters actually arguing with one another, Supergirl wants to leave, but Superman wants her to stay with him so that he can actually help her get better with her powers. Now, of course, this is the moment where you have Superman realize that there are some people who are in danger and they need his help. And he's asking Supergirl to come with him, but she's kind of like, no. What you just told me is that my family is gone. Our planet is gone. You're supposedly my cousin, but when I last saw you, you were a baby. And now you're telling me that you're some kind of hero for this world? Like, come on, man. This is so much for her to handle. And of course, she does fly off to go somewhere else. Matter of fact, she goes back to where she had crashed landed at. But here's the problem. When she gets back to her pod, or where her pod had crash landed at, of course, it is no longer there. Out of nowhere, you do have a hologram appear, and the hologram shows a guy known as Simon Tycho. Now, he is going to be the bad guy of our video, but this is Simon saying, listen, I have your pod. If you want your pod back, you must come to me where I'm staying at. Now, of course, once again, there is this communication barrier between the 2 of them since Kara has not learned English yet. She only knows Kryptonian. But of course, Simon realized that and says, listen, how about this? You follow this probe, it's going to lead you to where I'm at, so hopefully you follow it, and that is when I'll be able to give you your pod back over to you so that you'll be able to go back home. Of course, it is a trick because the only thing he wants to do is to actually capture Supergirl. Now, of course, it does lead her to a space station, of course, in space. And so with that, she's even more confused on what in the world is going on here. Why does this random man was trying to talk to me, but I couldn't understand what he was saying, and why does he have my pod? Now for Simon, of course we know he wants to capture her because he wants to know why in the world is she related to Superman? What is their connection? To him, it could be ex-girlfriend, a sister. He has no idea that it is actually his cousin. But either way, once she arrives, that is the moment where you actually have Simon tell his assistant, Miss Thorne, to go ahead and give her the different tests to see what kind of abilities does Supergirl have. And his first test is really just him sending out a bunch of robot bugs as a way to attack Supergirl with intense heat. But that is the moment where he comes to find out that Supergirl is actually able to create her own heat. And the reason why, because when it comes to Kryptonian, they absorb solar energy, meaning that they're literally a living battery. And so when his sensors tells him that, hey, Supergirl is actually making her own kind of heat, it's her absorbing solar energy and just charging up and being able to survive the intense heat these robot bugs are sending at her.
But then you have Simon sent in the next test, which is known as the brain. Now, I couldn't find much information about the brain. Matter of fact, I really couldn't find anything about the brain. But either way, you actually have the brain fight against Supergirl. And for Supergirl, she has to learn how to fight against something that can actually go toe-to-toe with her super strength. Because every single punch she lands on the brain, it just goes through him, or her hands get stuck inside of him. He's just a goop monster, meaning that she needs to find a different way to actually deal with this creature. But while she is battling against this creature, that is when Simon gets a phone call from the president. Now, the president is upset with Simon for actually taking the pod away from them, but he reminds them that apparently he signed some kind of deal with the US and Russia that if anything lands on the Earth from space, he has the rights to actually take those items to basically study them. And so with Supergirl landing from space, it gave him the right to actually take the pod to learn more about her and possibly take her in to learn more about her as well, because he's very intrigued about her and Superman. But by the time he finished his phone call, Supergirl was actually able to defeat the brain by throwing the brain out into space, which of course now he's going to die out there, and she can continue to find Simon to get her pod back. Now, of course, when she's able to actually find her pod, she does walk over to it thinking that she'll be able to go back home or possibly find some kind of evidence that shows that, hey, Krypton is actually gone and you belong on Earth. But as she gets closer to her pod, that is when she gets affected by kryptonite. Of course, we all know that kryptonite is the weakness to Superman, Supergirl, well, really any Kryptonian. But this is your basic green kryptonite, meaning that she's being poisoned from the inside out. And so, of course, she can't do anything. And of course, Simon realized that. He's kind of like, yes, I figured that kryptonite would do something to you, and so now I can capture you and begin my process of studying you and learning more about your connection with Superman and your guys' race.
Now, when we jump into Supergirl number 4, we actually see that Simon is continuing to study the different parts of Supergirl. So, for example, her pod, also the armor she wears, but also keeping her contained so that he can study her as well to hopefully learn more about her, but to also learn more about Superman. Now, the brain, we come to find out, is still alive. They were able to recover it from space, and matter of fact, it had barely any damage done to it at all. And so it looks like Simon has won the battle against Supergirl. But then we see a random bodyguard that has begun the process of actually feeling bad for Supergirl. What I mean is, he feels bad what is happening to her right now at the moment, and so he released her, because to him, he thought when he signed up to actually help out Mr. Simon, he thought Simon was going to make the world a better place. But after a while, he realized, hey, Simon is a bad guy. Why in the world am I working for this person who's basically trying to kill this girl or study this girl, but torturing her at the same time? And so he does release Supergirl. But while Supergirl and him are about to escape the place, well, that is when they are confronted by a bunch of bodyguards, and of course Simon is there with them, and he tells the bodyguards to go ahead, kill the guard, and make sure you are able to recapture Supergirl, because I'm not done studying her just yet. Now, it does look like that Supergirl is about to be captured once again by these bodyguards that work for Simon, but that is the moment where she is actually able to regain her strength and use her strength as a way to actually break free, go get her outfit, and finally do some damage to this space station and hopefully get her pod back from Simon. But here comes the big problem, because once she's able to come back to Simon, hoping to finally deal with him,
That is the moment we find out that he actually is holding something called a Sunstone. Now, a Sunstone is very particular for Kryptonians because they are actually able to record a message on a stone for someone else to see. And so for Supergirl, she begins to think maybe her father actually put a message on that stone that could explain why in the world she was put on that pod. This could be the hard proof she needs to learn that Krypton is no longer around. But here comes the problem. Because Simon has it, he says if she moves one step closer to him, well, he will break it. He will get rid of this stone in a matter of seconds. And so it's kind of like, what in the world can she do at this exact moment? And so everyone is beginning to freak out. Not everyone, but really just Supergirl. And this is the moment where you actually have Supergirl shine. What I mean is she used her heat vision as a way to attack the core of the space station, meaning that sooner or later, this space station is actually going to blow up. And so everyone must leave before they are possibly killed by the explosion. But of course, with Simon, he does not want to leave because he built this space station and it cost him so much money to actually build this space station. But because he was distracted by the problem, Supergirl was able to get close to him, grab the Sunstone, and actually leave and get outside. Now, of course, you do have Simon assistant begging him to come with her so that they'll be able to escape. But of course, he does not want to leave. And so by the time Supergirl gets outside the space station, yes, it blows up. And we're left to believe that possibly Simon and other people who were still on that space station have now been killed by the explosion. And after all of that, Supergirl is finally able to get a moment to herself. But here comes the big problem though. Now she's outside with a Sunstone that is cracked, which means she's unable to listen to the message that her father could have possibly left on the Sunstone. And so she needs to fix it. But the only way to fix it is use some kind of Kryptonian tech. And the only person who could possibly have that is, of course, Superman. But she's still wondering if she can actually trust him because, again, the last time she saw Superman before this video, he was a baby. And then out of nowhere, she's on a new planet and he's an adult now, meaning that she's now the younger cousin of Superman. But either way, now she must wonder what can she do for her next move. Now, remember earlier I said that we were left to assume that Simon was killed by the explosion. Well, we come to find out that he is actually alive. Barely though, because he did lose his arms and legs. But using the body of the brain, they are beginning the process of giving him some kind of new body. But then, to move on, they do explain that they were able to get a blood sample of Supergirl, which is very huge because with that blood, that means he is able to do different kinds of experiments to learn more about Supergirl or to create something out of the blood of Supergirl. And that is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please hit the like button down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoyed today's comic book video.